Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 44 of the ArtaCast. This week, with just another week of the new metagame of Z9. LD played actually, or won actually a small tournament in his in your region, right? And I think we have to just more meta talk, have some decks to show. We had a big tournament in Denver in the weekend where we had the first qualifier for the nationals in America. And shout out to Sky. Sky is a crazy good player. Showed it always in all the history of Lorcana. He showed that, and especially in the Pixelbook times, I really remember him crushing everyone with blue steel. But now he showed he can also play like everything. And I think we will talk about that deck also for sure. And LD, how was your weekend, or how are your feelings about the game right now? What can you say?
I had a really good weekend. I went, like you say, I went and played a local. It's just like a small testing tournament, really. The local scene close to me is around this one particular shop that I went to play at. It feels weird to not shout it out. It's called Mad for Miniatures in St Austell, UK, which is a really lovely store. It's been around since like the dawn of time. But they've got a really good community. Very focused on helping each other improve. So they kind of run between set champs. They've got into running these in between little standard tournaments just to help. It's a competitive environment, but it's you can feel that it's mostly about helping each other work out what you want to play for bigger things. So went over to play in that because I've sort of missed out on them in the past and had a really good time. I took Purple Steel because I went into the weekend thinking like I hate Purple Steel. I've played tons of it. I feel like it's really going down in my estimation. It was trending way down. As the Blurple lists got refined, I really started to question like what does Purple Steel do better than any other deck really? Because it has this lingering memory based on its previous iterations that it should have a really good aggro matchup. That would be why you would play it. Is that it was basically like the grindy. It could grind like a purple deck, but it did more in the early game to help ensure you won the board early and snowball from there. Um, I'm not sure. Like it does do that, but it doesn't do it as reliably as it used to, and it notably doesn't do it in much of a better way than a lot of other decks. So something I found myself saying a lot was like Blurple's aggro matchup is kind of just as good at as it. That you have access to the same sort of you can challenge for the same sort of numbers on the same sort of turns, and you have access to your 3-cost singable removal for Tiana. It's like basically the list of reasons that I would play PS over Blurple, it was getting shorter and shorter. So I just thought I'll give it a run. I'll take an iteration that I kind of like and just see what sticks. It ran well on the day. I will say that the only reason I won the final of the tournament was my opponent got like really unlucky with Blurple and bricked out in game three in like a that deck's really consistent. It's really hard to fully brick out, but man, he managed it. So it was a really rough run of luck. Um, and yeah, aside from that, I would have lost to Blurple. So then afterwards, I kind of joked with the people that were there, like, they're like, well, what do you think about Purple Steel now? And I said, well, now I have to not get results oriented and think it's great because I went in thinking I hated it, and while playing, I disliked it for all the same reasons I already disliked it. If that makes sense. Um, so now I'm on the search for something else because I'm not loving Purple Steel. That was kind of mirrored a little bit in some of the results from Denver, which I think we'll get into. But on the whole, like I think the format is decent. Um, you have a decent number of established decks. It is hard to sort of try and find something that's consistently beating everything, but like that should be hard, right? Like in a balanced format, it should be hard to find something with amazing matchups into the field. So I'm not done looking, but for now, I'm sort of really on the fence at best about Purple Steel because I've gone from loving it to being a lot lower on it.
I
I
think
know
it's the
you've
best
played.
deck in the format right now. That's
Excellent.
then
Then
we
we've got a
got
good foundation for a good conversation today.
yeah,
We can have an interesting discussion about
yeah.
Purple Steel. Where do you want to start? Do you want should we have a look at the list I played?
Yeah, maybe we show a list. Yeah, your list first, and then
Yeah.
you tell me it's why this deck is bad.
Okay. And then you'll tell me why it's good.
Yeah, that
Perfect.
sounds good. That sounds great.
Yeah, that does sound very good actually, because what I predict is going to happen now is I will show you a build that I played and you will show me a much better build and say if you'd only played this good version, then you'd be really happy. So not to jump the gun too much. Yeah, let's have a quick look at the version I played. Let me just pull it up quickly.
Mhm.
Um, so it's not standard. There's a few choices here that people would probably find very weird. I became very, very low on illusions in general. Even Cobra, that is sort of an essential tool for reach. I tried running a build without it because so many of these lines were getting so disrupted. Like I found myself caught in spots where like I had to play Cobra as my 3-drop, and I was just so vulnerable to so many things at that point, that I really went off it and decided to just max out on roses instead. I was playing some elephants for like to bounce docks and to just like be able to present this sort of unkillable threat to other steel decks and see how I felt about that. Lukewarm on it at best. It got inked a lot, and the chance to bounce docks presented itself very rarely. Um, and then not playing any of the more consistent cantrip 4-drops like Dolores or Twilight, I think Treasure Guardian, but playing Yzmas as well as some elephants and genies, and those kind of together made up the main draw of the deck, and a couple of bells also. Um, I didn't hate it. It felt very consistent, but consistently medium, which is fine and is a quality I've enjoyed in decks in the past. But yeah, it didn't blow me away. I really should have been playing the 2-cost Madam Mim. Like I had them on my desk to go in the deck before I left. I just didn't put them in the deck. So brilliant, good effort by me there. Um, but yeah, aside from that, like pretty happy. Like I can't complain. It
Yeah, I
did
think,
run smoothly.
but because
I
you
had
said
no
like
major issues.
because you said it's like a very unusual list, I don't think it's that unusual. It's maybe it's playing no Dumbos. I think not everyone
Yeah.
plays Dumbos, but the rest is I think is yeah, I think solid. Yeah, no, Cobra is maybe a bit off the meta, but I get what you mean with it, but I think it's like still the ceiling is kind of
Yeah,
five.
it's probably too good to cut.
And
Yeah, because there are some
but I
matchups that
like the
always live.
Pete's. I like the
Yeah,
Pete's, but often I think Cobra dies too, but it often dies to other things as well that it would kill, like strength or something. Like
yeah,
any other
sure.
3-drop would probably die too. But it's like
Yeah.
it's hard to say. I still like the stat line very much, and like also
Hmm.
against blue green and also
Yeah,
against
it's very good.
purple. Yeah, I think the card is probably good enough to justify deck slots, but yeah, I get I get what you what I think with purple steel is, and because maybe we take a like a roundup because like in Denver I did really bad purple steel.
Mm,
But I really think that's my honest opinion that it's very hard to pilot. I think it's by far the from the three top decks for me the by far the most hard to play deck.
yeah.
I think it has basically nearly any turn a decision, and even in the mulligan, it's like you can
Hmm.
do just everything. You can keep a dog, you can send away a dog, you can keep a genie, you can send away a genie. You can do everything basically, and it's very hard to say which was right. And just the fact that Tiago, shout out to Tiago if you hear this, won 2 tournaments with Purple Steel
Yeah.
shows me that the deck has legs and has ceiling against everything. I feel very strong against Blurple on the play. I think that the matchup is very play draw, and I don't think it is much more than that. It's maybe slightly favored for Blurble, but not that much. I'm very successful going white against this deck. I have the best shot against Ember Steel that any deck can have. I think Blurple. That's what I really in general say to people. That basically I want to say it to you now, but in general I want to say to
Yep, do
people,
it.
if you think a deck is broken,
Yep.
play it yourself. Then you see
Yeah.
the failure modes. Like if you play
Yes.
Blurple against Ember Steel, you think, if I have no one drop, I absolutely get crushed with no
Yep.
shot. So and Purple Steel is way more consistent of the developing an early board that can challenge and fight the board with all these hooks and Kaloons and stuff.
Yep.
And it has strength. It has fire decans also if you want it. So it's like way better into Ember Steel, I think. And that's just
Yep.
my opinion. Um, and yeah, the rest of the field, I feel very strong against blue green. I think it's the
Mhm.
deck that blue green wants to see the least. And I tested it so much now. I feel very confident with the deck. But I think if you want to play it in a big tournament, I would recommend everyone to really maximize the testing in it, because it's, yeah, like I say, even later today I did with a friend a testing session earlier today, and we play tested, like, because he wants to play maybe Purple Steel in Bologna, and then
Yep.
we made a lot of test games, and it was so we played with open hand, and it was so hard for us to find out the perfect play in every turn. And it's like,
Mhm.
and in so many turns we both said, like, because he's also a very good player, but we both said, like, oh, it's very hard to say if that is right or that is right. And I think it has so much ceiling, so much, and I'm very very high on it. But of course, in I would play Dumbos if I would play
Yep.
it, because I think the card is too good. It's also like blue green gets a bit popular, and Dumbo is so great against that deck. And
Mhm.
what I think right now, I can show you my list now if you want to see it.
Yeah, let's have a look at yours.
Um, yeah, and there I really, it's not too different from yours, honestly, but it's like I have Dumbos too, and I have Ismas too. So like from turn 4 on, I play every turn like a big character that they need to answer, and like
Mhm.
developing every turn something they need to answer. And then, yeah, the Madame Mim, like you said, I think the card is absolutely amazing.
It's very,
Not
very
only
good.
against Ember Steel, but there, of course, but also like the sometimes you can trade that you will get people with that card for sure,
Yeah.
with this one last missing strength that you need to trade something, and then you can do it. And yeah, I think the card is great, because all the other two drops outside of Kowloon are so bad. I think
Mhm.
it makes total sense to play her for me, because you want to play Kowloon either way, but if you don't have it, you have her. And I agree with you a bit with the illusions. I'm not too sure about the one drop illusion. Thiago played, I think, Rafiki's over it, so that's what I get. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I think the rest is pretty similar to yours. So yeah, I just want to make sure that nobody underestimates this deck. I think it's a strong deck. And if you play against Thiago with any deck, I don't think you have an easy time against this deck. No matter if you play Blurple or if you play, I
Yeah,
don't know.
sure.
So I'm very high on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. One of the sort of feelings that had come back to me playing Purple Steel this weekend was I'd constantly be looking at my hand and thinking like, right, what super medium thing am I about to do next turn? And then it had kind of completely blocked out like I completely forgotten that like as long as I'm doing super medium stuff, like my opponent can make mistakes, and then like my opponent would make a mistake, and I was like, oh, okay, I win. Like I've completely assessed this against perfect decision making with some of these other decks, and sometimes the opponent is forced into a suboptimal line, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, okay, great. I just get to draw cards and quest, and it's as good as it's ever been. So yeah, I
Also,
do feel positively about it.
yeah, also like with the winning of like we look at the list later, but with the winning of Sky in the weekend, with him playing a mirror match in the final, I could see Amber Steel rising very much now. And what's the best deck against Amber Steel? It's probably Purple Steel. I don't know. It's there's not much more you can do than Purple Steel does to stop playing from to stop people from aggroing you. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
I agree.
like, or what would you say? Yeah, maybe early under the sea or something. But yeah,
Yeah, like those fast under the seas can do it, but they're reasonably tough to pull off sometimes. And sometimes you can end the game quickly. But in terms of consistency against aggro, I think the point I was trying to make earlier isn't that Purple Steel is not good against aggro. It's that it has a lingering memory of being the anti-aggro deck, and actually its lines are only marginally better against aggro than some of the other decks. But that's good enough
hmm
to make the difference. Because if you feel like your matchup spread is good, plus it's marginally better into aggro, then it still makes for a good deck. But yeah, I just think this perception of it as the aggro killer in the rock paper scissors cycle is not quite as in practice. It's not as strong as you might assume it to
hmm
be, based
Yeah,
on
yeah,
like the memory of how
that makes
purple steel
sense.
used to perform. Yeah,
That makes total sense. Yeah, and I think the Amber Steel deck that is of course like extremely strong. I think this
yeah, it's great.
new version of Sky. Um, yeah, maybe if we talked about everything about Purple Steel, maybe we get over to it.
Yeah,
Or
I
do
think
you?
that's really all to be said for purple steel is that there are certain. I really like the look of your build. I think it looks brilliant. I mean, a lot of early deck building was kind of trying to choose between Dumbo and Yzma, and like, why not just play both? And why not just maximize your like must answer threats in a hyper consistent deck?
What
It seems really, really good.
what I like about it is like if you build it like this, then you are not forced to keep something of your card draw in your opening hand, because
Yeah, yeah,
you can then, yeah, you will draw into them something you will draw either. I keep a dog, but I keep none of these other draw stuff. So the stack top deck's reasonably good, and
mm,
yeah, that's what I
which is great.
that's all that also comes into the consideration. I think if you have like high number of like draw cards, and you don't need to keep them, and I think that's a reasonable. I think that's a good point actually for a deck if you
Mm,
don't need to keep your card draw because it's like, yeah, bricky or something, then it's like,
yeah,
yeah, because like the blue green deck, for example, they need to keep big clarable most of the time because the card
yep.
is too important. And if they don't have ramp, they have to keep it anyway. So it's like, it's weird.
Yeah, you end
Yeah,
up keeping a handful, like all those cards you've just described are all inkable. You keep a handful of cards that you both need. You also need to ink cards, and you create situations for yourself where you end up inking key cards because, of course, you do.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
they're
yeah,
all key in your hand, and yeah, it makes the mulligan decisions very hard for that deck. I mean, it's a very skill-intensive deck anyway, especially like played out over long days of play. It can be quite grueling because you really
yeah. And
it's very rewarding, but yeah, it does ask you to be sharp on the day and be thinking a lot about all of your mulligan decisions, all of your inking decisions. It's pretty unforgiving, I think. Um,
co-
yeah, having the ability with purple steel to just like you don't have to think that quite at that level, because the pieces individually are not as key as they are in some
yeah,
other decks.
yeah. Because like from the look of Purpose here, I didn't think it is like very skill intensive because I thought, yeah, okay, you slam your stuff and then you play a dog or something. But I found it way more punishing to make a misplay than like Blurple or something for misplays. I think that was like green purple in the past. Green purple was also a deck where where you were not allowed to be misplaced, like basically, like, and that's also the case here. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I do agree. If I think that Amber Steel, which we'll have a look at shortly, I think Amber Steel has like potentially the highest skill ceiling of all decks in the format. The differential when you see a truly exceptional
Mm-hmm.
player play it, which is kind of supported by the results from the weekend. It has like a not the biggest not the biggest top 16 conversion, but the final ends up being 2 Amber Steel. I think that's pretty indicative of that sort of thing. But yeah, all of the decks do ask a lot of you. I would say Blurple feels the most forgiving to me. I mean, it can brick
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
but when I've seen it, it forgives you the most as long as you've inked up and played threats on curve. There's not too much you can do to mess that up too badly. And yeah, one piece of commentary I just wanted to speak to that landed with me, and I thought speaks to the point you were making about Tiago was the player Justice, Lorcana Justice on Twitter, you post some very nice, really good metagame data and stuff on Twitter. So if you don't follow him, you should go follow him. And along with some quite well thought out commentary, and he said something that stuck with me about if a deck, I don't know if these were the exact words, but the gist of it was, a fair deck like Purple Steel winning 2 major events over 2 weekends in the hands of the same player speaks to a format that in general is very skill testing and has big room for skill gapping, right? Like
Absolutely. Yeah.
it
Absolutely.
really speaks to an environment where good players who play sharp, know their deck well, can get it done with whatever deck that, within the realms of 5 or 6 decks, you can get it done on the day. And actually, people can brick out, people can get unlucky, but with some of these fair decks, just there is no substitute for being an exceptional player like Tiago is clearly. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to mention that because that really stood out, and I do think that rings true. And I think the more you see more results, it just feels very true. It's different decks winning these tournaments. It's always massive Blurple representation in the top 16, top 8, but Blurple is not converting too many of them. Doesn't mean it's bad. Amber Steel won this weekend. Doesn't mean it's the best deck in the format. All of these things are hyper playable. They're all tier one
Mm-hmm.
without question, and skill diff basically, skill diff on the game on the day, and a little bit of luck, which is welcome to TCGs. That's the formula for winning a tournament. That's the kind of environment it feels like we're in.
Yeah. That's really good. Yeah. Really good summary. Um. Yeah. Maybe we'll take a look on the list from Sky.
Yeah, let's have a look.
Um. Yeah, he played, I would say, a, yeah, a relatively normal Amber Steel, but with Aurora and the Aurora Diana combo or Aurora Mulan combo, which is like very oppressive. I underestimated a bit the turn 2 Tiana because I thought like, okay, then turn 3 she has nothing to protect the Tiana, so she quests and yeah, okay. But it's like, but still she can quest at least the whole time since,
Yeah, nothing can.
yeah,
You,
yeah,
you don't have the 3 ink to pay, and
yeah,
nothing hits for more than 3.
yeah,
So
yeah,
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 she's so free to quest. Yeah.
yeah. She's at least free to quest, and
Although
then if you play
power, yeah,
another, Tiana on turn 3, the game is basically over probably.
yes,
Um, and yeah, that high roll potential is probably good enough, and
yes, very good.
was is kind of the new spice in the deck. The rest is pretty standard, I would say. There is still Rhino in there here because Rhino is kind of a card many people cut because it's like you don't want to make Rhino shift on turn 2 anymore, so it's like a bit slow for that, and then you want to go wide rather, and then it's a bit weird to play Rhino shift if you don't want to do it on turn 2. But the small one is still really good because it's like, yeah, the effect
Yeah,
is really annoying especially to protect your Tiana and stuff. And yeah, then you play the shift. Maybe to play it on turn 4 is also decent, I would say, probably. And the rest, yeah. The Troubadour is also a card I really like. That's a card I saw on the list, and then I really thought, yeah, okay, you have only to sing it to sing strength with it. But then I think okay, it's a 1/3 resist one,
Yeah,
so it's
that's
like,
it.
yeah, it's still decent. And if you can sing strength on the draw before your opponent, that's really
Exactly.
meaningful. And
Exactly. Gives you a big edge in the mirror.
yeah,
It's a big edge in the mirror, big edge in steel mirrors is that you know for a fact you're getting off the first strength.
yeah,
And the other thing, I've not played this, but what strikes me is that you know with the play patterns at the moment, you're obviously trying to set up your 3-drop to sing strength. Having your 2-drop that can do it and do it in a pretty safe way because this 1/3 resist one is not really getting picked off by anything very early. It then enables you to actually lady on turn 3 like more comfortably because if
yeah.
you're really going hard on trying to make sure you get the first strength off, like lady is often a bit of a liability because it gets cannons, that sort of thing. So Troubadour really supports it while it's not a massive aggressive threat in its own way. It supports your curve out in that you can go really aggressive, you can go wide early while still like definitely getting the first strength off unless you Troubadour on the draw into a turn 3 peak from your opponent. Um, but you know, for the most part, like supports these incredibly good runouts that yeah, just it must really throw the mirror off
Yeah,
and the steel
of
matchups
course.
off.
Yeah, for example, if you play Troubadour on 2 and then Lady Nala on turn 3, and then you sing
Yep.
the on the draw, even on the draw, and then you
Yeah.
sing the 3-drop of them away, and then yeah, you have this white board, and I think that's really strong. I think 1/3
Yeah.
resist one is totally reasonable aggressive character.
Very,
Yeah.
very. Yeah.
Um, yeah, also opted here for Pete's. And yeah, I think the rest is pretty. 3 fire cans is also something probably not that usual in Ember Steel, but
No,
I
but we
get
have
it.
seen stock card go up quite a lot, haven't we, recently? Fire the Cannons in general is a card worth discussing. It's been getting better and
Yeah,
better over the
yeah,
coming weeks. Now you've got so many use cases for it between it's an illusion tagger, it picks off um, all of the things that Blurple might. If the elephant builds a Blurple, they have to have something in play to bounce for an elephant on their 4 ink turn. You can pick that off and massively disrupt them. You can mess up the mirror really well by just like a 1 ink take out a lady sort of thing to change all of the racing math. Um, I think it's a card that's like obviously it's something that always bears considering because like uninkable slots are at such a premium, but right now feels like a good spot for cannons. It's a very good
yeah.
card. I personally like favor playing 2 in most of the decks that want it, but I can
Hmm.
totally understand you go higher in a deck like this that
Yeah, he
just wants to
went
win the.
one game. He went like Aurora turn 1. Then the Blurple player played 1-drop. He Quest played Mulan, played Daisy, played Fire the Cannons.
Yeah,
uh, how can you
yeah.
ever
Like,
recover from?
what do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I now have 3 bodies in play on turn 2, and I removed your only thing. Like that's pretty good, pretty good.
Yeah, I think he said, and one of my friends said it too. It's like it's so hard to lose to Blurple. On the
Yeah.
play, it's really nearly unlosable, and on the draw, it's also very hard to lose. He said, also,
Mhm.
this new version is really a new layer to the deck. I think that makes it even faster and even
Yep.
stronger, especially against bad decks like Blurple.
Yeah, I
And
think so too.
yeah, again, Nala is absurd. Yeah, this deck, yeah, has everything it needs. An aggressive deck needs. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So I'm curious. It's really interesting for me because like I'm very chill, and I'm kind of a bit happy because I'm not competing in Bologna because I can watch everyone struggling and sweating to find their decks, and I can just sit
Hmm.
here and think, oh yeah, let's see what they will come up with and what they, because it's like very tough decision for many people, I think, to decide what they will
Very.
bring. And
Yeah, I mean, I'm struggling. I know I'm going, and I don't have. I'm not locked into a deck. Um,
most
it's
people are
not a great
not, I
place
would
to
say.
be. No, they're not. And that's the sort of takeaway from, talking to people in person, talking to lots of the people that I chat with frequently online. Like the vibe in the camp is that most players are a little lost. They have decks they like, but they maybe have less confidence in them than they should do. They bounce around between the top decks, and yeah, people are looking for an edge, but it's very unclear where to find it at the moment. Um, yeah, I'll keep you updated as I work out what I'm going to play, but it's not looking great right now, I'll tell you.
Oh,
I'm not going in
you will
I'm not
win.
going in with the confidence that we did into Continentals, for example. That was a very unique situation where it's kind of like I'm definitely playing green purple. Oh, the deck is actually amazing. Oh, this is really, really sick. Great. Excellent. We'll have a good day. But yes, right now it is um yeah, it's a little confusing. The edges are hard to find. I am convinced there are other things out there, though. I really am a lot higher on the format being kind of open this week than I was last week. I really felt like it was set in stone, and I think there are creative things that can be done. I have a couple things in the pipeline that aren't quite ready to show yet, but quietly feeling like there are other routes you can take.
Yeah, there's another one, and then you can laugh at me.
Go ahead.
Another special, because you talked about special situations. I'm
Mm,
soon in a special situation because just today I bought my ticket for Singapore DLC, which is in
yep.
November, and they play really best of one, and till the semi-final they play best of one. So it's like
Yep.
you play 9 rounds of Swiss best of one, and then top 64 best of one, top 32 best of one. It's crazy. I can't. I don't want to blame someone because it has the reasons. I heard it's like they want to finish the tournament in one day because like the Sunday is kind of holy there, or I don't know, like a
Mhm.
very
Yeah, yeah.
and then it's only possible to do weird stuff if you want to
Yes.
finish it in one day. So it's like
Yep.
um at best of one, it's like ah, ooh,
Yeah,
Genie
that's a
Elsa
tough
on the
one.
draw. Oh, sad. I drive home. Okay. Um,
What format do you play in Singapore?
no,
What's
set
that?
10. It will be set. Oh, it's true. It will be set 10. So maybe complete new meta game. Set 10.
Oh, okay. It's not. We're not still on the slow release.
In Singapore, not in Japan. It is, but in Singapore,
Right.
not.
Okay. I didn't know that.
So in China and
Wow.
Singapore, no, in China it's also slow. Really, it's really weird. It's like every country has
Yeah.
another like format like and in Japan and Tokyo there will be in January, I think there will be like set 7, I think, will be there like the format, so I have to
Yes.
really
But
adapt.
it's it's set 7 with the fabled promos added in, right?
Yeah, yeah, but we talked
So
about that, and I think
yeah,
Dumbo is not an issue because it's like weird to, but I think Dumbo is not playable in this old format, I would say. I don't know, maybe it is, but uh you would say it is.
the first thing I thought when I heard about those promos entering the old format and going into circulation in that format earlier is like red purple evasives, like the evasive shark deck plus Dumbo is absolutely cracked. Like that is by the
Hmm.
end of that format, it looked like the best deck anyway. Like it will take some convincing for me to feel like something on paper is better than that. Maybe it doesn't play out in practice like it, but like slotting Dumbo into that evasive
Hmm.
deck, what? Like that is
I don't know
very,
if
very
it's win
good.
more in that deck. I don't know. I don't. You have
And
free
to be fair,
access
they
to
weren't.
rabbits and everything. So it's like,
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe yeah. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. The red purple evasives. That's a good shell for that. Yeah, for sure. But then, what do you cut for that? You have already good card draw. Do you cut genies for that? Sure not. You will not cut genies for that.
good
So
point. I don't know.
you will cut finders keepers, probably not. I don't know. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe, but I don't think the Dumbo shakes up the meta too much. I don't know. That's just my feeling. Maybe I'm wrong, but it completely um, possible that I'm wrong. Which other card, like
No,
the
definitely.
power line, is also, I think, or what was it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, that's something different in my opinion. Maybe the
Yes.
blue red stuff, like that it can go crazy. I think with another
Yeah.
high roll option.
Oh, blue red with power line in it. Just
Oh yeah, that's nasty.
yeah.
Because the
Very.
2-drop top power line, he will be there too, right?
Yeah, of course. Because
Because
it's like
he can like
they
sing
have
how far I go, like
yeah, the
yeah,
two can sing how far I'll go.
that
What?
is that is
What?
yeah, okay, but you want to ramp onto it's weird, yeah, like it's but yeah, yeah, it's at least something to experiment with, like
Mm,
but that's cool. Yeah, so I'm excited. I have like to adapt every month to a new format. That's really cool. I like
yeah,
that.
you've got to bounce around. You have to have your brain in
Yeah,
every region of the world at once. And
yeah,
I
but the
don't envy
problem is
you.
also the access to the cards because like
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
In Japan I have to play Japanese cards, so I ordered a deck now, and yeah, it's not that cheap honestly, like to play all these
Mm,
different formats. But yeah, it's fine. People ask me about if I can just short for the people to know. People ask me about if I can show like my in a video like my experience in Japan. And next week I'm planning to go to my first locals here in Japan, and I'm planning to make a YouTube video about that. So if you want to see that,
oh, that'd be cool.
I think that's really cool to see a complete new environment. And I think it's also cool like to see if like in an older format, like they are in set 5 now, I ordered the red purple deck now, um, if they find new ways that we didn't find in the past, like because they have
Mm,
our knowledge, and can move from there, like they have access to our knowledge, which we found out in the past, you could say.
mhm.
And from there they can develop maybe even more, maybe it can develop even more, like that's very interesting for me to see if we didn't
Totally.
find the end. How can I say, if it didn't find the end of the format, if the format would go on, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite things actually about like trading card games that are played globally. Like the cultural differences in metagame and in how people like it always used to be a thing back in like back when I was playing Magic where you would have these completely conceptually different decks come out of Japan and
Hmm.
um, East Asia, and they would sort of occasionally things would come out just like completely blew your mind. You're like, this is an entirely different way of thinking about the same set of cards, and that's incredible. Like even in this game, I have loved the difference between Europe and North America, and how like everyone says that like if you're if you were born in North America, like the government sends you four Diablos and four strength. And yeah, every baby receives a full set of Diablos and
And
strengths, and
Ursula
then
3-drop.
you're conditioned to play green steel from birth. Whereas if you were born in Europe, like that you just get a package of like the most dirtily do nothing cards you've
Rabbits,
ever seen
rabbits,
in your
for
life.
rabbits.
Yeah, just 4 cost draw a card. And it's like it's brilliant. You do absolutely nothing. Um, and the fact that there was like enough diversity in the tournament results, in the things that people were playing, just across 2 regions was just really cool. And it's like it's always fun to poke fun back and forth about like oh, your metagame, blah blah blah, all this and this and that. I do think it's that like those differences are really awesome and yeah,
Yeah.
just make the game deeper and more fun. So yeah, it'd be really cool to see like what comes out. I mean, I've got to say I've not been following the Asian metagame closely enough to see if anything in past formats like new has broken out or if there is much in the way of like really interesting innovation. But like
No.
now you're there, so you can do the work for me. You can tell me what's going on, and I don't have to look, which is great.
Yeah, I can just shortly say like last week was the Beijing
Yep.
DLC, which was set 5,
Hmm.
and that was won by Steel Song versus Red Purple in the final. So I think it's not very.
Roughly
The
the
decks
same
I
then.
saw, the decks I saw were really similar. I think the Red Purple played like a 4 cost Vanellope. This
Oh yeah,
rush.
killing Diablos, I assume.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably a Diablo answer.
Hmm.
And yeah, the Steel Song was really. I thought it's not too different from what we played, but maybe I think we will. I will feel um, used to it very soon, probably if I play that.
Yep.
So, and it's probably also like very likely that we didn't do that much nonsense stuff in the past. Probably we probably
Yep.
built well-defined decks. I would say so. Not very likely that it's complete different, but I think the the what the players like to play is of course a bit different than here. Yeah, than in Europe or America. Yeah. Yes. Um,
Yeah, it'd be very exciting to see.
we have some questions in the comments. We had some, and I thought today maybe we will answer that. If you want to, we can make a comment. If you want us to have answer some questions, and now, or rather, send ask. I would like to ask you, listeners, if you want us to answer questions in the podcast, because I see so often questions and I don't
Hmm.
think I can answer them in like 1 or 2 sentences. So um,
Yeah.
I want to pick them up in a podcast sometimes. But
Yeah.
I think that's cool. One of them
I think that's a good idea.
was just questioning, like two comments were questioning us why green purple is so bad, and we also said like it's
Hmm.
like on the draw so bad, and then they said, yeah, do we think the best of three, the on the draw game got worse, and if so, what could be done? What could get printed to raise that? And that's a
Mm.
question that's really, maybe I start. It's really hard to answer for me, and I don't think um, it's easy to find a complete answer to that. I think in general, I would say the Lorcana is by game design a bit play draw dependent. Just by the design of the game, the advantages you have from being on the draw, like these additional cards, will probably never catch up totally to the advantages you have on the play. But of course, catch up cards in general, like catch up cards, I would call them like Be Prepared was, for example, a great catch up card. Crab was a great catch up card. Fox, all these
Mm.
cards that swing boards for you or board wipes, you could say, are good catch up cards and therefore like good on the draw cards. Also, like example is, for example, this 2 cost Mana Mim, that's just something to take over the board because your opponent will most likely quest before you, and then you need to catch that up. So, and that's just really hard to do with green purple right now, because there are nearly no cards we have access to for doing that. So, and for the future, I would say, yeah, cards like Crab, Kid, Fox. Fox will probably never come back, but yeah, similar effects that, yeah, can swing boards for you. Relatively cheap they have to be because like Green Purple was
Mm.
never a deck. Then yeah, like Under the Sea is a catch-up card you can say, but it's nothing you played in Green Purple. So at least in the tempo variant. And so I would say, yeah, cheap removal, you can say, or these buffing strength cards is also often really good. I don't know what you would say.
Yeah, so I guess I would summarize it the same way, but maybe phrase it a little differently.
Mm-hmm.
It's all what you're missing now are the cards like Kit, Crab, Fox. Three different cards, but they all had like they all did something on play that affected what your opponent could do the turn before and might influence their decision making.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, the the interplay between those cards was also very important. So on turn three, you threaten to kit something.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't quest with it, they like lost a law because you are going to kit that thing back, right? So they feel like they have to quest. They also feel like they can't because the threat of Fox is too great, where they don't want it cleaned up for free. So you had this mixture of cards that would often mean that your opponents just couldn't reliably quest into you, which was a very important factor in
Mm-hmm.
making sure you had a tempo advantage, that you were threatening these things that were going to happen if they quested or going to happen if they didn't. And what you've got now is just a load of super medium stuff. It doesn't threaten anything. Like your best reactive three drop in that slot is Lewis. That like who cares? Because the
Yeah.
whole format is adapted to play Hook, Calhoun, both of which will gladly take a trade up with Lewis,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just don't quest, then you just don't have to do anything with your thing that they gave
Reckless.
Reckless to. So all of this stuff is like really your options are so much more limited. So like the best thing you can do is really telegraphed. You don't threaten to do anything out of your hand other than deploy more evasives, to play more slow stuff. You're not threatening to rush with anything. You're not threatening to bounce anything back to their hand. They are free to just read the board, and if the board looks like a tap out board, they can just tap out because the conditions won't change in your next turn, which is wild. It means that as long as they went first, they can continue to maintain that tempo advantage
Yeah.
because you never threaten to do anything that will punish them otherwise.
Yeah.
The best thing you can do is build a board of larger bodies than them, but every deck can do that. So then your question becomes, why am I playing green purple? Well, the reason why the two of us aren't playing it right now is because the conclusion is it doesn't do anything better than any other deck. It can build a sizable board of evasives the same way that Purple Steel can, except Purple Steel has more ways to interact and actually does have some things it can do by, like, quote unquote, surprise in the form of strength, or it could upset boards in like by playing Mim Skater, that sort of thing, um, alongside its really strong challengers in Hook and Calhoun. So you have to think, like, what is this deck doing for me now? Because the strength of green purple was used to be in that weird interplay between all of your different things where it's like, I want to go fast, but I also have tools that mean you can't race me. So I'm always going to find a way to get a tempo advantage, because if you tap out and start racing me early, I'll take good trades. If you don't, I'll quest and make you race me, which I'm also good at. So that fundamental philosophy of the deck just can't be executed without that package of three drops. So it leaves you with this pile that, like,
The only
obviously, yeah, go ahead.
the only edge I would see in green purple is having access to these amethyst cards, which are the consistent best card draw
Yes.
cards in the game, and maybe have this chip sudden shield stuff, which you can
Hmm.
sometimes snipe out the last two cards of your opponent, and then you have
Yep.
like this attrition war winning situations sometimes. But then the best decks in the form and top deck really good right now. And then it's like maybe not the best to go for this discard route. But I think that's the edge I see for Green Purple, which could be something no other deck has access to. Like, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's not the most powerful thing to do. I would say, or how would
No,
you say?
and
Yeah,
that's the problem.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the problem, right? It's like every color combination has a thing that it can attack the metagame in a unique way.
Hmm.
The one sort of thing we've got, which is like this light discard package plus. consistency of Amethyst cards. It's just not well positioned right now because all of the best decks refill really well. In the like, or they top deck very well in the terms of like being dock decks or being Blurple, which just top decks like crazy because so many of its draws are live in the late game. It's not as well positioned as you'd want it to be to make it worth considering over these other things. So yeah, that's I guess the shortest summary of why it's not well positioned right now. Of course, you can win games with green purple, and of course, people can run hot because it's it has access to all those good green and purple cards, obviously by its nature, and basically like anything can win right now in the form of
Mm-hmm.
if you go first a lot, if you curve out well, if you present a bunch of evasive threats your opponent can't answer when they're behind, great, you can win. If you see good green purple results, I would urge you to look into the number of dice rolls they've won across the day because it the play draw disparity for the deck, because it's missing all of those catch up things and all those cards in the mid game that force difficult decision making for your opponent. It means the disparity is so wide. It's like if you start with a tempo advantage by going first, it's very easy to leverage that into a win. But if you go second, you simply do not have the tools to
Yeah.
pull yourself back ahead a lot of the time, unless your opponent bricks out or has a suboptimal curve. But on paper, you can't make a great case for the deck because if you're attending a big tournament and you know you're going to have to play a bunch of games on the draw, why would you ever register a deck that you don't have total faith in its
Yeah.
ability, like that relies on your opponent essentially failing while you're on the draw?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I'm off it.
Yeah. Makes total sense. And would you agree with me what I said earlier about like Lorcana is probably by game design a bit play draw dependent?
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
and 100%. Yes, I
Yeah.
think so. I think that this conversation about play draw disparity has been going on since the dawn of time, and it is a feature, not a bug. I think
Mm-hmm.
at this point is clear, and we've been given best of three back as our competitive format um, because we asked for it. I wonder if in time we will come to regret that. but but, but
That's a good
yeah.
like lead to the next listener question, because they asked us, two of them asked us about best of two versus best of three, what we think.
Mhm.
And we said a bit last week, but yeah, I'm still on the fence. Like, I don't know. I think I found in backside, I don't think best of two was the worst decision ever. I think it was a reasonable approach to fight play draw disparity and
Mhm.
to have a fair yeah, to make everyone like play the same amount of games on the play or on the draw. I don't know.
Yep.
I still feel like you can combine this. You can play best of three, but still manage the pairing in that you just play against someone who was on the play, and then you could
Mm.
pair that in that way that you probably get paired into someone that you like. One game you're on the play, next game on the draw, next game on the play, next game on the draw. You could pair these people like that they
Yeah.
are at least to some extent, because it depends how they play, of course, but to some extent have a fair outcome throughout the day to play the same amount of games on the play or on the draw. I think that's possible with best of three from the pairing,
Yeah.
I would say. But best of three has some other downsides. I think the time thing is like a real problem. For example, today, if you play a Blurple Mirror, that can be problematic to finish a best of three in time.
Mhm. Definitely.
And yeah, some decks won't care about that too much, but for some decks, that's a problem. And yeah, I think best of two was not, there's no perfect solution, but targeted these problems kind of reasonable, I would say. And we were all
Mm.
complaining, and it's like, I always find it a bit lazy.
Mm.
Like we said in the past, like no, I don't find it lazy. It is lazy. If everyone says like the format was bad, um, I came not tops because the format was bad. It's not. It's probably nonsense to say that, because it's like why everyone would, yeah, no, that makes no, I think it makes no sense to say that, basically, because why should you have a more disadvantage than your opponent from the best of two,
Yeah.
like it makes no sense for me. So from an objective standpoint, but I don't know how you see it.
Yeah, that's a very interesting perspective when you think about it like that, of like, how can you, a single player, have been more negatively impacted by the tournament structure than the people you were beaten by? Like, I only lost because of this factor that equally impacted every player in the tournament. Yeah, yeah,
The
I feel
only
you.
the
I mean,
only argument I think is reasonable is that you say, okay, but in best of two, you play less games throughout the day, and then the
mhm,
average win rate doesn't come out that good than in like than if you
yeah.
play more games. But then you need to have a better win rate that you usually have anyway. So it makes no
Mm.
sense to that, because it isn't good for you if you get to your average win rate, because you need more than that to to reach top day two. So because 60 to 70% win rate is not enough,
Yeah,
and
it does, like,
yeah.
you have to have more than an exceptional win rate to
Yeah.
actually make the top cut. So yes, it doesn't you don't really want to push towards that if you could avoid it. Yeah, the only other thing it really changes is deck selection. I do maintain that you would want to play different. The most important factor in deck selection is something that you are comfortable and good with, and that should probably trump tournament structure. But if you, let's say, on theory, you have access to every single card and you would consider yourself equally skilled and equally comfortable playing every deck, I would expect your deck selection to be different for best of two, best of three, best of one. Um, I definitely think there are some decks that are more likely. Like, we've had this conversation in the past, like those
Yeah,
more adaptive strategies.
of
In a best of
course.
two or best of one, you play fewer games with knowledge of your opponent's deck.
Hmm.
So if you play a more adaptive, a deck that's more adaptive, which tends to be those, like in the past, it was green, purple, red, purple, those sorts of things that would take very different lines versus what the opponent's doing
Hmm.
in response. Um, you would expect over the course of your day to see a better result with those sorts of things versus something very linear, where actually the more games you can play, surprising your opponent, yeah, the higher percentage of games that you can play where your opponent does not have intimate knowledge of your deck list, the better for you. So
Yeah, but
some players will have been very negatively affected by, let's say you were someone who like considered yourself a red purple expert and
hmm
then you were pushed into two game format.
hmm
You have like a minor ability to
hmm
gripe then, like that does punish you
hmm
slightly.
Yeah,
uh,
it punishes you. Yeah, I would say I would totally agree with you that punishes you in much deck in some decks really much. I would say even for example red purple or green purple. But the point I want to make is like from skill expression. Why is it more skillful to adapt to a known opponent than adapting to an unknown opponent? Because these blind games are also you also need to that there's also some skill expressions in adapting to blind games. Like why is it more skillful to adapt to your opponent than playing blind? That is
yeah,
not necessarily more skill for me, like, you know what I mean, because a player, for example, if you can the best play blind, then you are a better player also, like, but yeah, there are less situations then and stuff, but it's like, I don't know, for decks that need to adapt to your opponent, um, it's for of course. I think it really hurted green purple and red purple for that extent. Yeah, I think it
yes,
really did.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'd say so, yeah, definitely.
yeah, um, yeah. I think the conversation is reasonable and should be done, but it's like really really hard to make arguments for one and the other. I think every player has probably its yeah, it's what he likes more, but I also think, like, sometimes I really think in set championships or something. Yeah, it's weird, but I still think it's like just only a feeling, because like they're really happy about 3 game format, because I think, like, okay, this one game I maybe brick or something, and the other games then I win. But I don't know, from the maths, it makes no sense to me too much to prefer that over best of two from just regarding skill expression. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think it's kind of I feel the same, but the only math that really makes sense to me is that like in a best of three situation, you are expected to win 66.6% of your games
Mm-hmm.
against each opponent. And in a best of two situation where 1-1s are bad news, you're expected to win 100% of them.
Yeah.
I think players that would consider themselves above average and have observable win rates of around 66% would back themselves to win 66% of their games against the average player.
Mm-hmm.
Very few would back themselves to win 100% of their games against the average player. So you're sort of accepting this. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
that's my mindset. Is like
Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
sit
Yeah.
next to, if I'm at like a set championship or something, and I sit opposite from like my average opponent, I think, you know what, you can get a game off me, but I'd back myself to win two against you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if it was two game format, I don't go in with that same confidence. I end up thinking like on paper this is a 1-1.
Yeah.
How do I make it not a 1-1? I'll
Yeah.
do my
Yeah.
best
Yeah.
to make it not one, but my expected outcome shifts from positive to negative actually because the 1-1s are bad for you.
Yeah.
And yeah,
But the 1-1 is not a 1-1. It is a 1-1, but the third game you just play against someone else. If it's, because like the third game in this best of three scenario would be like the 2-1 for you. But okay, but is it easier to play against the same person or against another person? Probably a bit, yeah. Because like the third game, you need to play against someone else. But
yeah,
it's weird to say. It's a hard decision. We will play this season in best of three, or you at least, and
yeah,
and
I
then
will.
we will see what we like more. I would say, yeah,
Yeah, but
it
if I make top cut at DLC,
you will like
if
it.
I DLC Day 2 this season, I'll tell you it's the best format ever. If I
Yeah,
if I qualify directly into Continentals to a DLC, yeah, then I'll tell you it's the best. It always
that
has been the
makes total
best.
sense.
If I don't, if I I'll write a nice long tweet about why it's terrible and
Yeah,
should
makes
never
total
make this
sense.
decision.
And I think that's
That's the way
very
it works.
objective and makes total sense. Yeah.
Yes, I don't let my personal experiences influence my opinion.
But for everyone who really think it's the best idea in the world, I think it still can be that you like lose three dice rolls in a row and you think,
Yes,
what is this?
there
Um,
are.
but
A good thing to keep in mind is that there are reasons. They didn't just decide to make two-game format because they thought, what would really annoy people, right? Like, what could we do to just really upset TCG players? Oh, let's make this format. Oh, it seems terrible. Let's push it out. That's so not what happened. There are faults with I was going to say with green purple. There are faults with three-game format that make it bad, right? There are issues with best of three, and they are exacerbated in a game that has a by design play draw disparity. So yeah, it's always going to be careful what you wish for. We hope that it pans out to be the lesser of two evils, but there are flaws on both sides. Both are imperfect, and they're not solved by going to best of one. It's also imperfect. We might just have to accept that TCG tournament formats are imperfect, and the process we're on is working out which is the lesser evil. Next season, we could revert to two-game format, and we might all be happy for it by the time it comes around. Just gotta wait and see.
yeah, makes total sense. And the last thing is something I really, it's my honest opinion to that I think it's really important. If I see it as my responsibility as a content creator to answer these things or to make clear, because we got like 3 weeks in a row where people complain about the meta, which is fine,
Yep.
but saying they don't care about competitiveness at all, and balancing is not working, and they don't care about balancing. And I don't want to speak people off from their opinions. Opinions are important, and everyone can disagree with me, and that's totally fine. But I just want to because I think it's very important for a TCG to have a community that's not very like thinks it is everything bad and stuff and dooming, because I think that's very important for TCG to us to be successful, and these things, because people dooming can be totally reasonable. So that's totally reasonable to do that sometimes, and I just want to make sure for me that I speak my opinion about that. And I think it's not the case in Lorcana, of course, otherwise I wouldn't play it. And I want to just say that for me personally, that I think balancing a game is extremely hard. And I think balancing can never be optimized to a degree that, like, I don't know, 6 or 7 decks are on the same power level. And you can see that in so many cards and systems that are introduced in a game, that it's like completely wild to make the perfect wild assumption to always make the perfect balancing. Like, for example, I think a good example for me is Genie. Genie is a probably overstated card. Like, it's 2 for quest for 2, draw a card when come into play, and one willpower or strength more or less on this printed card can completely take over a metagame, I think. And to manage that, to balance that, they surely test their cards to a crazy extent, I think, and secure that none of these cards go completely out of hand. I know we always complain about cards that are completely out of hand, but it's like, it's still, I think they did the balancing till date kind of reasonable and good. I don't want to complain about that, because I think even cards like Diablo and stuff, they were very swingy and stuff, but I think the most of these cards had the right, how can I say, for their card design, had the right stats or something, and don't wear like too over the top. It's really hard to say that, I know, but it's like, and even cards that I think were too weak, and that's a good sign for, I think, a game the designer knows what he does, is came out to be extremely powerful. And I think many people agreed with that. Like Diablo, for example, was like everyone said, I know the first weeks, I know, and so many people said that card is too weak, it dies to storm and stuff. And also like Big Sisu, many people said, oh, it only like 2 or less, that I play rather B prep, and the card is uninkable and stuff. And and these cards came out to be very powerful. And then not appeared like that for many people. So I think they know what they're doing, and I think they care about balancing, and I think they care about competitiveness. And that I would just, and then I'm finished, and then I let you. I would just expect. I would just search myself for the expectations I have for a game. Like, what do I want from the game to make me happy, to be happy in the game, and that I wouldn't say to be satisfied. You don't need you. I would not experience. I would not see the expectation for yourself to think everything is perfect balance, because like every time one card will always be the best card in the game, probably, so you can say, because like that's the nature of these cards. You can't take that away for complete, and there will always be the best card, and even if the best card is very low power level, it's still the best card in this specific metagame, and then we see
Yeah.
it as broken, like, and that's the summary for me. I don't know if you, like what your opinion about that is, or how do you feel about that?
I would, broadly agree with everything you've said. I think um, I certainly don't share the view that like the game balance-wise is being managed into the ground or something, that the team aren't doing a good job. I think on the whole, given the design of the game and everything within it, I think that things have roundly been very, very good. And in the rare instances where things have been truly oppressive, that they've taken action quickly, which is fantastic. There's an analogy that came up recently that I find quite useful because I am prone to negative feelings. I care very deeply about the game, and when it starts to take a shape that I don't like, prone to complaining, prone to whining. It's part of the package deal with me. Unfortunately, that is what you'll get. I care a lot, and so I feel a lot. Playing a trading card game is a long-term relationship. It evolves constantly, and it's not always going to take a shape that completely gels with you personally in one way or another. I know it's a different matter if like just general opinion across the player base is the game is bad, um, but it's not always going to play into exactly what everyone likes, how everyone thinks, and how they prefer to engage with the game. Some formats will be more rewarding and enjoyable to you than others, and that's always going to change. Um, in the same way, like I don't think of it as like I think people tend to think about their hobbies in terms of like a passion. It's like a passionate love. This is something you are excited about always. And if anything ruins that excitement for a second, you feel terrible. It's actually been useful to me to think of it more in terms of like a marriage, which is like sometimes sometimes there is passion, like it is, and it is all extremely positive, and sometimes the conditions around it, out the external factors shift, and it becomes work. The love doesn't disappear, but you must work through that patch and return to the position that you know how the positive feelings you normally feel. It isn't constantly smooth sailing. So that has actually really helped me realize like these feelings that I'm feeling are just like a desire to get back to a state that I enjoy, and not call for me to run away from the game, right? I'm not going to quit over a condition that I like when a metagame feels unenjoyable to me. And I think that's like a big differentiator is that I would say the early format for me, this format has not been fun, but it's not been
Bad designs.
imbalanced. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not badly designed, but for me, it's not been fun. For some people, it's been fun.
And that's
That's great.
reasonable. Yeah.
There's a big audience to be served. Some people's idea of fun is different to someone else's. Sometimes you'll be in favor, sometimes you'll be out of favor, and it's a great merry-go-round where we all wait for our turn in the light, but we are all united by a core love of the game that keeps us stuck to it until the conditions we don't enjoy pass. Um, yeah, sometimes you will just have to work through it, and I appreciate that. Like a fair few people have expressed not enjoying this format.
Yeah, and I think
I,
complaining is also sometimes just natural and reasonable.
yeah, of
If we think,
course.
oh,
Yeah,
Hades reprint was so bad, and I hate this card, and then we think, yeah, okay, maybe it was, and also like also think some people see the game a bit like, I don't know if you said it in English, but so black and white. If they do
yeah,
one mistake, then their game design is horrible, and that's not the case. I
yeah,
would say,
sure.
like, if I wouldn't necessarily agree, but if cards like Hades were a mistake to reprint, then I don't think their whole game design team has no idea of how to balance card games. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's not the case. And um, Probably they thought also like, oh, they lost blue lost Hiram and stuff. Maybe we should just give them a bit lore from what do they have outside of Sale and Tipo, and then we give them Hardest maybe, and then but that's all they need. That's all they need. Yeah.
And it's important to keep in mind as well that like you could point to that as a decision that pushed Blurple over the top. However, what we're talking about here are like small, actually quite small margins.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is the final piece that makes Blurple an incredible deck, and very likely by most people's account the best deck in the format. Despite the fact it's not winning all these tournaments, it has incredibly high representation, which for me makes I would still call it the best deck in the format. It's still just like even if you were to consider that like a mistake, it's still by a margin. Like I've come from
By
playing Magic
yeah.
where like the design team have missed two card infinite combos printed into the same set, not into the same standard format, into the same set. Like these two cards go infinite with each other and represent ending the game on turn 5. Or oops, we didn't see that. Sorry, we'll ban something.
I just want to say it
Like,
was not Monstro and Donald Duck. It was like
yeah,
way earlier,
yeah,
Yeah.
this isn't like a Monstro Donald Duck situation. This is like a I can reliably do this on turn 3 and then this on turn 4 situation. So
Mm-hmm.
it's yes, it's
And
by
also, if you would say, hey, this was a reprint, if it was not reprinted, Purple would maybe be unplayable, and then we had even less
exactly.
decks in the format, so you could say maybe it was a good decision even. So hard to say, always hard to say, and
Yeah.
always like afterwards, it's like in everything in life. Afterwards, everything is easy to say. Always.
Yes.
Afterwards, we can always say it was wrong and it was right. That was wrong. That was right. That was right. Like yeah, there's so many situations in life where I think yeah, okay. Afterwards, it's easy for you to say afterwards, and then yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. But yeah.
I think like the last thing I would say on it is that nobody's feelings are invalid. If you're not having
No.
fun,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's totally
Yeah.
fair. And I get where you're coming from because I'm not having a great deal of fun either, but I'm working through it and trying to find ways to have fun. Totally empathize with you. If you feel that one deck is so oppressive it should have a ban, that is also a valid thing to think. I see a lot of like this discourse, it happens a lot on social platforms. Is someone will have a strong reaction to something, they'll bring the word ban into the conversation, and then they'll get brigaded by a ton of people saying things to the effect of like, no bans, don't even dare say the word, we don't need bans, we don't need wild opinions like this out there. Like let people think and feel stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
if somebody really feels strongly that something should be banned, like they can say that, and then the people that support that view will get behind them. And if they don't, if people don't support that view, they just won't get behind them. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
I don't think
Yeah.
we need to just like immediately stamp on every bit of discourse because we don't agree with it fully.
Yeah.
With that said, I did reply to a tweet this week with a reason why I'm not why I'm not pro bans. But
Yeah, I mean,
it's
if it's
it
constructive and you just say your opinion, that's also totally fine. But it's
yeah,
not like
sure.
you don't say like you stupid guy. What are you saying there?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not. Yeah.
It's so like all of these like we're all just we've all just formed opinions based on our experiences and based on like what we're enjoying, not enjoying. And I guess the core point is that's always going to be different. And if it's not good for you today, it might get better tomorrow. And when you're invested into a game that is constantly evolving, which as TCGs are, you just have to wait until the conditions improve and try your best to work through it. If it's not your format, not your day, not your week, it's going to happen. It will happen again, but it will also be your day again. You will, the conditions will shift in your
Yeah.
favor again, and you will have a fantastic time. And it's why we all stay invested and largely continue to love the game. Yeah, so that's like my summary of it. And I think,
Yeah. And last tip from me.
yep,
Um, just a practical tip from me. If you think a deck is busted, and like I said before, and it's
mhm,
totally broken and it can lose against nothing and it's completely over the top, then play it yourself. trust me, every deck I played, I thought is broken. When you play it yourself, you experience really the failure modes, what this deck can struggle against, what it needs to shine, that it doesn't always have the perfect curve. Then every deck has failure modes, and like best example maybe Steel Song in the past, where I think this deck is completely broken. And then you play it yourself and see 3 whole new worlds in the opening hand and think, what is this stupid deck? I hate it so much. And then and that's the case for also like decks like Blurple or something, where you have this failure mode of missing ramp, then you have failure modes of sometimes not having good card draw, not having good removal and stuff, and completely losing against an overwhelming board. And so like I really think that even for me to play just decks that I don't like helped me to get a really much better overview over the metagame and what I think really is busted and what is not busted. But that's just a personal
Completely
tip from
agree.
me. Yeah.
I completely agree. And you always, this is just like part of the human condition. You will always retain like memories that you've had a stronger that have stronger emotions
Yeah.
attached to them
Yeah.
than ones that you haven't. So in general, that means that like the negative outcomes stick in your mind a lot more. You will have after playing a high number of games, you will have such a prevailing feeling that Blurple always ramps on 2 and that it's not possible to miss. Believe me, this is me speaking my own experience here. You will feel like it is not possible for them to miss ramp. Then you will see it happen and realize that their entire game plan crumbles if they can't ramp on 2. Sometimes it's saved by being able to ramp on 3 if they find it the turn after. But how much that deck is tuned around a specific point of failure, which is rare but does happen.
And you need to
So
hard mulligan for that. So you need
yes,
Into the Unknown against the Ember Steel deck, and you can't keep it because you don't have a ramp and stuff. And then you
yep,
this has just play it yourself, listeners, and then you will see that that deck has flaws like every deck
yeah,
has. Yeah.
yeah,
Nice. Wow, long talk today, but I think it was very
yeah.
interesting.
Lots of chat.
I think we are ready to sum it up, right? Or do you have anything to add?
Yeah, let's wrap up. I'm
Yeah.
all good from my side.
Okay, then till next week. And thanks everyone for watching. Till next time, and bye bye.
Bye bye.